Good morning, everyone. How's it going out there? Welcome back here to a Sunday. Good afternoon to a few out there, and I'm sure good evening to some as well. 11:34 a.m. California time here, December 7th, 2025. Latest activity there on the globe shows a 2.7 up into Alaska. Now, I adjusted this little knob up here yesterday, but due to the heavy amount of aftershock activity and increasing movement there across the Pacific plate, I actually have to adjust it even more, which is a little odd. But this earthquake 3D program here, when we get so many earthquakes in one area, it has a little defect here. So I have to bring that down to about the third line, which would technically be 48 hours or so, or 36 hours. But, the earthquake from yesterday happened in the afternoon time period, the Alaska earthquake at 12:41, so about an hour away from now would be the 24-hour mark. So that's why I had to make that manual adjustment. Either way, we got a lot of aftershock activity up here, quite a bit. 161 earthquakes in total tally out here, so 160 aftershocks. So far, we have 3 5-pointers. I have yet to see a 6-pointer. Normally, right, on occasion, should say normally, on any 7-pointer, depending on the type of region that it's in, should see at least one 6-pointer, and it's very possible we could see that here soon. It could happen in the next day, it could happen today, it could be 3 to 4 days from now, but I do believe that we should see at least one large aftershock of a 6.0 magnitude range. We'll watch that, because so far, as you can see, 3 5-pointers, 5.1 being the largest aftershock, and a whole bunch of 4s. This is probably, a lot of 3s in there as well, a bunch of 2s, and then it stops there at the 2.0 level. So they're not counting all the small under the 2.0 range, because you got to remember, for every 4-pointer, there's going to be probably about double that in 3s. For every 3-pointer, that's going to be every double in 2 for the most part. And so on. So there should be, probably hundreds of smaller quakes underneath the 2.0 range that's not getting included. They're having a hard enough time going back here and counting and determining where every earthquake struck here yesterday. It's definitely a large amount of aftershock activity. Nothing of unprecedented amount, far as like a bunch of 6s following the 7-pointer. That would lead me to believe that we're looking at something bigger brewing in the area. But this plate boundary up here, or just off the plate boundary, mainly has 7-pointers up here. Down south here, bigger quakes, and of course in the Gulf of Alaska, they had 3 or 4 low 8 magnitudes there back in 1899. So just kind of watching that, seeing how this progresses. But right now, I do expect at least one 6-pointer. I mean, we didn't even have an upper 5 yet, or a mid 5. It's just 5.1, the largest so far, aftershock. And, of course, the 7.0, the main quake out there. A little bit of movement happening here to the west of this aftershock sequence. We got to watch this, because at times here, when we get large earthquake activity, it can have an effect on nearby faults in the area, but also at a distance here. And there is some uptick going on roughly in this area, around the Granite Range area, it looks like. 2.0, 1.0, or 1.7. There's a 2.9 from yesterday afternoon and late last night. So there is a noticeable increase in movement out here across this area of Alaska. So, this whole area right here, this little, almost like a horseshoe, or this curvature of a plate boundary, those sometimes fill in sequence. Like, say, for example, we had that 7-pointer over here. Well, it's possible we could see a similar magnitude filling in on this area. Similar to what we had back in 1899, this area out in the Pacific had literally around this area of the subduction zone, 8-pointer over here, 8-pointer over here, and then an 8-pointer inland. It kind of fills in when you got this type of plate boundary, similar to the South Sandwich Trench down there. When we get earthquake activity happening across the northern end, we'll normally see that fill in sometime shortly thereafter across either the middle end or the southern segment. And more So, like, say, for example, the northern end gets it, and then the southern end, you can bet with certainty that the middle area of that subduction zone is going to fill in. So, if that makes sense there, we got that. Not the same type of scenario, but it is, it's possible it could fill in that way just because of the area here that's got this feature on the plate tectonic map and the newer activity that's starting to fill in here to the west. So just watch this. I am still watching the area of the Gulf of Alaska here along that subduction zone. One earthquake there outside of Anchorage, it looks like, or north of Anchorage, way north. 3.5, 17 miles deep. So definitely been filling in up here across Alaska recently. Remember we had that 4-pointer, or no, excuse me, that was a, what was that up here? 6-pointer, right? Yeah, 6-pointer outside of Anchorage here. 10 days ago now. This is just the last week of activity. A lot of movement along the Aleutian Trench. Nothing happening right here across that area I'm watching. And if we were to go back, like an extended period, as far as large activity goes, it's fairly absent of newer movement. So this is an area of concern. And also you got these little crustal quakes here back prior to the subduction zone. These are on the Pacific side of the plate boundary, but they're happening before the interface happens, before the plate begins to subduct. That's a bad sign here that things are quite strained in the area. So we'll continue to watch that. I'm sure aftershocks will continue to fill in. Some of these they may get to them. They may be getting to some of the quakes from yesterday, and so it could definitely go up there in terms of the numbers. But 162 earthquakes right now. The main station to watch, if you're watching the live stream, is the Peninsula Alaska station down here on the bottom. That's the one that's fairly close to the epicenter of this activity. It looks quiet for now, but I'm thinking only the 3-pointers are going to show up on this station, 3.0 and higher. There's one in Glacier Island, Alaska, a little earthquake up right up here. That may be, I don't know which one that is, but all right, so continued activity in this region. Far as, I want to check out Canada here real quick because, let's see here, Canada, right here, and see what's going on up there. Just because of the movement happening there, within the area, I got to watch for maybe some further stress and strain out here as well. Look at all that earthquake activity happening. Let's see if we got any newer activity here in the last day. I really don't see any newer movement here. Most of that, showing up in the along the Alaska Canadian border up there. Nothing new. I just always like to look for some changes there around the area when we see a big event. Nothing major going on there across Washington, aside from a whole bunch of rain. I think these guys are still in our rain here. Well, it's Mother Nature. The storm tracks are gonna shift and whatnot, but some of that should be down here where I'm at, please, because sharing is caring, right? Hello. One earthquake outside the Seattle area. That's on the eastern edge of the Seattle fault. Little 1.2. Nothing big going on there for now. Cascadia subduction zone, fairly quiet. The tremor counts there from yesterday. Let me show you guys the slow slip events. Only 7 of them. So a pretty good drop there in terms of the tremor counts occurring down into the subduction zone, the deeper area at Cascadia. We'll check that later tonight and see what that looks like as far as any uptick or if it's completely halted for the moment. A couple smaller quakes there in the Northern California. Nothing big. Let's see if we got any noticeable uptick here across California along the Parkfield section. It's pretty close there to the creeping section and the Parkfield section area where this is basically the creeping section's an area of the plate boundary, the San Andreas Fault, that pretty much slips along. It's got this, it just slips. It doesn't lock up like the San Andreas Fault in the Parkfield section or the southern branch or the northern area does. It just kind of creeps along, and when we see that activity elevated, that means that things are on the move out here across the plate boundary. So stress is definitely building across the Parkfield section and probably along the west coast in general, because there's a pretty decent line of activity here. Nothing big. There's a 2.7 and a 2.6. Definitely got some interesting activity. Watching the Parkfield section here because it's, well, it could be coming up here soon. The last one of a 6.0 magnitude range was back in 2004. We have these regular intervals where they happen on, pretty much like clockwork every 20 to 22 years or so. And, that would be in this period where we're at right now. And then you got to watch the southern branch of San Andreas Fault where it looks pretty quiet. Nothing above 2.5 down there in Southern California for now. Mostly smaller microquake activity. I don't see any uptick. I don't see any unusual activity for now there across Southern California. Yellowstone National Park, nothing showing up, but it is the weekend. And I say it's not like the earthquakes take a break, right? They don't take a break. They get earthquakes up there on the weekend in Yellowstone. The thing is, the USGS, the governmental office that, puts out these quakes, are probably not too concerned with the earthquake activity at Yellowstone right now because it's not a whole lot. There's some from last night, but all of these are probably below 2.0 or so. This event right here is not magma movement. It's not shaking the magma chamber. It might way down below, but this is this reading here is from the 7-pointer in Alaska from yesterday. Somewhere in there is a P wave, and then all these wavy lines are going to be S waves, and sometimes they travel around the planet for a couple times when you get these big events happening. These right here looks like it's going to be some of the 5-pointers up in Alaska. But as far as local events go, I don't see a whole lot of activity going on. Just a couple small earthquakes there across Yellowstone, and they'll get to them Monday morning. But nothing really above 2.0 or so. There we go. It's not Monday, Sunday. That means Monday's right around the corner. Darn it. All right. Couple ones, some twos out there in Texas oil fields. Nothing big. Got an earthquake out there in the Georgia area, it looks like, from yesterday. A little 1.4, nothing major. So take a look up here across the Pacific Plate, the northwestern corner of this Pacific Plate. Starting to see a decent uptick in earthquake activity here. Or aftershock activity, whichever one you want to call it, because this is the area where the 8.8 struck back in July. Quite a few 4s and 5s here overnight. Even some movement happening around Japan and surrounding, or maybe within, the Nankai Trough area. So we do have to watch this zone here. It's a major subduction zone that's got a mega quake warning put out for it by the Japanese government here last year. That has yet to produce a significant earthquake, but it's probably getting closer. These earthquakes up here is noted in 4, and there's even a 5.6 range this morning. Aftershock activity or just a sign of increasing pressure out here. I tend to agree with both of that wording right there. Increasing pressure will obviously increase more earthquake activity, and it's happening in the zone where a large earthquake struck here this year, so that would be aftershock activity. But there is a segment right here, and it's pretty quiet right now, that has not ruptured. When we had that 8.8 earthquake there off the Kamchatka area, that did not rupture the entirety of the Kamchatka region, the Kuro-Kamchatka Trench. There's still a decent segment here. I'm thinking right about here southward to the Japan Trench. 9.0 struck back here in 2011, so not really too concerned with another mega quake, but this area was definitely primed. I mean, if you think about it, it's had 2 events, one north and one south of it, in recent times, geologically speaking. So the strain is definitely building up out here. That's where the plate here subducts the Pacific Plate underneath the portion of the North American Plate here. Notice those 2 arrows pointing at each other. And, of course, look at the arrows back behind that. The Pacific Plate moving to the northwest, Eurasia Plate moving to the southeast. This is a high area of strain and slip that occurs along these plate boundaries out here. That's why there's almost always earthquake activity stirring up. So, and mega quake activity. It doesn't take hundreds of years to build up enough strain out there for a mega quake. All right, let's see here. What else we got? Check out the globe real quick. Yeah, pretty active out across the Indonesia area, but this is just pretty common. Bunch of 2s and 3s. Nothing big going on there for now. Some deeper activity back building across the Tonga Trench, resulting in further stress out here across the Vanuatu area. 5.6 and a 4.9. New Zealand, nothing going on there for now, but do got to watch that area. Middle America Trench over here. Mexico southward. Some 3s, maybe a couple 4s in there. Nothing big. Same for the Peru-Chile Trench here. Just the typical daily movement. Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet out across the Mediterranean and Middle East area. Yeah, it's a little bit more active out here. Got a 4.5 stirring up there in northern Turkey, it looks like. Swarm still stirring up in western Turkey. Bunch of 2s and 3s. And some activity over here across the... where is that going to be? That's over in the Iran area, it looks like. I think that's around there. Not showing up on the USGS map, but definitely seen some uptick going on here across this area today, and more recently this morning it looks like. The Big Island of Hawaii, yes, that came to a halt, episode 38. Man, they had some spectacular fountaining going on. There was some, even some magma. The fountains there were kind of shooting off at an angle, and it actually went over and destroyed one of the webcams there. Let me see if I can find that. The Kilauea Volcano. Where'd we go? Right here. And then we'll get to space weather activity in a little bit, because we do have some solar storms headed our way. So yeah, that eruption ended as of yesterday. I just want to see if they have any imagery here. Let's see what these guys got. Yeah, look at that flow there, man. Just shooting out like crazy. Good thing nobody was standing out there. But they know, they can pretty much assume where this is going to go. But those things were massive fountaining, and that plume there, well, I heard it was going up 20, 30,000 feet or so. So this is kind of a little bit bigger eruption than what we had seen here in the last, 37 episodes or so. And it did destroy a camera out there. I'm seeing if they have it on view. There's a little tornado there, twister, a short-lived twister. Of course, you got all that heat that can create, pretty much like dust devils there, but that's pretty neat. Is this, oh, here, okay, you guys got to watch this, okay? This is the V3 camera located in the hazardous closed area of Hawaii volcanoes, was buried by tephra and inclined lava fountaining. Let's check this out real quick. This has got to be pretty neat. I definitely got to show you guys this. So, depending on how long it is, let's see. It doesn't look like it's that long. But let's see here. Keep it going. Let me see. I want to see a little bit closer here. It's a couple minutes, but look at that. Just coming closer and closer to the camera. And then it gets buried up here. Literally knocks it offline. Ooh, there we go. What a view. It's coming, though. Let's see, right about here. And it literally takes it right offline. Imagine the heat, the force of all that, all the lava shooting out. Ooh, look at that. Boom, gone. And that's it. Lasted for a couple seconds there before it probably disintegrated. Pretty crazy. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, that was a definitely a more stronger type eruption as far as the volume coming out there. And yeah, I don't know if it has anything to do with the amount of earthquake activity we've been seeing underneath Hawaii recently. Let's go check out the deformation data, see where we're at, see how much volume we lost here. Let's see, go back. So the deformation data here at Kilauea Volcano. Make sure bells are off. There we go. There's our eruption. It went down pretty good. In fact, if you look here, that's why it lasted so long. Well, it lasted a certain amount of time, but also the volume of that was more significant than the other ones. And you can tell here, if you look in the past 3 weeks, 3 months, excuse me, past 3 months. I was going to say we didn't have that many eruptions the past 3 weeks. So these are all leading up to an eruption. The eruption is happening, and then it deflates the area, and then it comes back up again. Look how far this one went down compared to the last 3 months. In fact, it was much more of a volume output there. That's why it was so spectacular looking than any time there in the past 3 months, and possibly any time. Now, it's hard to see on the yearly chart, but there's one runtime right here. So either way, that's, look how much more. Twice the amount of magma and volume of lava output than the last eruption there in episode 37. See, here's episode 37, lasted that long. It went up to 38, and look, I mean, that's double that. Double the previous one as well. So that's pretty significant eruption there at Kilauea Volcano. It is going, it's going back up. Starting to go back up in terms of inflation right now. But I do think we're going to see some changes out here. It could either turn to a more continuous type eruption there at Kilauea Volcano, without having to wait a week or two to build up the inflation and whatnot. That's a estimated guess out here, just because of the deeper activity that's been stirring up underneath Hawaii recently. We've gotten, way more earthquake activity out here across this area of the hot spot, which it is, than at any time here since the eruption's been rinse and repeat cycle since December of last year. It's actually been a year now since we've had 38 eruptions. And there's a lot going on down below. I do think we're going to see the effects of whatever's going on here in the coming weeks, maybe months or so. But I do think it's going to be more of a continuous type nature out here at Kilauea Volcano. But we'll see. We'll check back on that either way. Still got a lot of earthquake activity out there right now over here around the southeast rift zone as well. So we do have to watch that getting active out there across the Hawaii area. Of course, when everything moves around, right, the Pacific plate, as it moves over that hot spot, it's gonna change. Things are gonna change out there, and the Pacific plate's been moving quite a bit, all over the place, except for California. And remember, these little 2s and 3s, they do nothing in terms of relieving the strain out here. In fact, you'd have to have 32,000 3.0 earthquakes to relieve a strain of a 7-pointer, I think. I'll have to go back and double check those numbers, but yeah, it's some crazy number. So California will be moving here soon. Not moving literally, but the adjustment will be taking place out here. Let's see what else we got here on the map. Another earthquake up there in Alaska, 2.4. This one, see, it's starting to get a little active out here. Pretty shallow 2.5 there, but watch this area. Just keep an eye on it. Space weather activity. Yes, we do have a G3 class storm coming at us, and that's because of that M flare that popped here about the same time yesterday as that 7-pointer in Alaska. Roughly around the same time. I don't know what the delay is in terms of the detection out here, but it seemed to click at the same time there as the earthquake and the flare activity. Let me go back over and check out the power community dashboard here real quick and see what's coming at us. So this is the Space Weather Prediction Center. The sun in the yellow, Earth in the green, stereo A in the red there. So This is high-speed solar wind stream. Notice the pattern. It's always shooting out high-speed solar wind stream there from certain coronal holes. But we do get these CMEs that blast off with strong solar flares, and we'll see it pop right here from the sun. Right about there. There we go. That's from the large M flare yesterday. It looks like it is slamming right into the planet with a good shot of plasma density. Pretty hefty shot there. Also, the high speed, or the speed of that, is going to be amplified as well. Looks like up around, what is that? 600 or so, somewhere around there. But the plasma density, that's a hefty shot. That's coming in. It looks like around 9:09 Z time on the 9th. Here we are in the 7th. 9:09. So this will probably be Monday night, maybe possibly tomorrow night, late night, unless this arrives sooner, which it could. So we'll watch for that tomorrow. Let's see what these guys have forecasted here. So there's a G2 storm. This doesn't go up to G3, but it should, because that's what they're forecasting here, as you can see, between 09 and 12 and 15 there. But this is for tomorrow night. And if that does reach up to a G3 class storm, this view line will obviously be a little bit lower. So either way, I'm not going to see it here in Northern California. We are socked in with fog again out here, which I don't mind. It keeps everything moist. Otherwise, we'd be up and probably up the upper 70s, which I don't want in December. Fair weather, no thank you. You can have it. Bring on the winter time. It's supposed to have cold, rainy, snowy conditions in the winter, right? 4 seasons. I'm not a one-season guy. Unless, well, I don't even know if I'd want it winter all the time. I like to enjoy my breaks from the heat. Okay, so we got that coming in tomorrow. That M flare came from the center area of the sun. Actually, it was on the northern one, it looks like. This area back up here, which was responsible of an X flare here as it was peaking around the eastern limb, and also responsible of a number of X flares last time it was back out here, weeks ago. And it produced a bunch of CME. So this one, decent M flare with a good Earth-directed component of that CME will bring us G3 class storming there tomorrow and into Tuesday morning. Who is not having fun at the party? Well, it's this large sunspot group down here. It's got quite a bit of complexity here, and this has been making headlines all over the planet since it's crested around the southeastern limb there a number of days ago, but it has yet to produce anything of any significant value. Significant value there is just not happening with any flares from this area. Getting a little bit of decaying going on ahead of it, maybe some back behind it as well, but there's still some complexity up here. And of course we got this area up here that's got maybe some potential for some X flare activity. So I am keeping my flare threat still somewhat elevated. These guys have 15% chance. I got about 30% chance or so. M flare at 70, and C flare, of course, we're into the C flare category right now, just sizzling there. Well, it looks like in the last few hours here we've noticed put that on mute. A number of bunch of C flare activity. Nothing since yesterday's M flare, but we'll continue to watch that. Let's see. No major coronal holes facing us. Just got those sunspot regions out there. Let's check out the next close approach asteroids here from the NASA website. I do like to visit here from time to time just to make sure that we don't have any close surprises coming at us, right? All these are millions of miles away there. 55, 51 foot, 48 foot. Nothing big, but even so, these are at a distance pretty far. So nothing of any noteworthy mentioning there with the asteroids. As far as severe weather goes today, we do have a marginal risk here across central Florida. It's mainly due to, looks like a little 2% chance there for some tornado activity. Might even see some water spouts there. A little bit of wind threat in there as well. Get those wind chimes going. Nothing really in terms of any hail. Now, man, I don't like to look. I do love to look at this map to see what's coming, but I'm not liking it. If you look into the Pacific Northwest there, they're just getting hammered with storm after storm. And Northern California is just right on the border there where we're not really getting anything. And this almost goes to the end of December, and that is bad news here for California. I'm definitely thankful we got rain in November, but December without a drop of rain is rare, very rare. December is one of our more wetter months out here in Northern California, and that storm track is, man, it's stubborn out there. But the stubbornness is coming from a high pressure system that's just off the coast there. Let me show you guys. Let me bring up the regions here. North America. We can check out the assemble maps out here. There's the high pressure, massive dominant high pressure out there off the west coast there, and it's just sitting there parked and growing. That's something you see in the summertime. You know, this is, oh man, not looking good. But for those folks that love the cold weather, it looks like east of the Rockies there into the eastern portion of the country, definitely got some colder temperatures coming down like it's supposed to be. It's wintertime. Look at that. Wow. Look at that massive, huge anomaly high pressure up there across Alaska. Man, at least that's not over here. It's bad enough out here. But that is a big one. That may displace some colder temperatures down here. We'll see. Look at that. It's back building out here. Oh man, I hope this changes here. I know we still have a little bit of winter left. I guess maybe a lot. We still have, January, February, and March if we're lucky to catch up on any rain deficiencies that may happen here this month, because we are dry, folks. California is not good right now. Luckily we do have some fog coming in at night in the Sacramento Valley, and then it lifts a little bit, but it never really breaks in the daytime. So it does keep things cooler in the valley, much cooler, a lot cooler. It's not 50 degrees out right now. It's 44 degrees here in my place, or not in my place, but outside. So these temperatures are actually incorrect. They're about 5 degrees off. But what is correct is this decent fog bank. Look how thick that is out there in the Sacramento Valley and the San Joaquin Valley. I'm sure you've seen it on the news. It's just a dominant pattern out here, which is okay by me because this is keeping everything moist. Even though we don't have rainfall, at least it's keeping everything green. Vegetation and trees are at least absorbing some of the moisture in the air. And I like it. It's almost like living along the coastline here in the Sacramento Valley. So this is thick today. We are not going to see any breaks out there for sure. It's going to be... look at the shadows out there. I wonder if those are the jet trails. See those long lines there? Over Oroville as well. That's kind of a shadow being picked up here on the visible imagery, which would make sense because this is towards the ground level, and airplanes aren't flying at 500 feet. They're up there 30, 40,000 feet or so. So that's an interesting little shadow feature there, all flying into Sacramento. But aside from that, that's going to be it. And I'll take it. Storms up north. I'd rather have the storm track down south here. We need it. But I will take any moisture over 75 degrees in December and everything drying out. Look at that massive jet out there aimed right at Washington and Oregon. Missy Mimi's wants to move along the coastline. I'm okay with that. I definitely would be okay with that. That puts me more in a hazard zone out there across the Cascadia. But the weather-wise, that would be awesome. Massive high pressure up there in Alaska that's steering everything. Washington and Oregon, there you go. Bullseye out there. All right, looking at the seismograph stations here. One earthquake in Russia, it looks like right now. We'll give a double check here of the map. Nothing showing up on the map here from USGS. Definitely more active out here today. Keep an eye on Alaska. There's Been so much movement out here across the Aleutian Trench in this area recently, and all that activity out here across Japan and Kamchatka, and now we got that big 7-pointer that puts literally this right about here westward along the plate boundary, that subduction zone, in check for some larger activity. So just keep an eye on that. Have to go back, the last few months here, and even the last couple years where we had the 8-pointer over here, and then this year we had a 7-pointer. No sufficient movement out here across that major steep. Look at that cliff out there. The oceanic basin just drops like a rock. That's a major subduction zone area. So watch that region. Still seeing aftershock activity up here. Just keep an eye on things, folks. 164 earthquakes as of right now at noon on a Sunday. We'll check this out a little bit later on this evening and see how things look. Have a good one. We'll see you guys out here a little bit later. Someone said I don't need to raise my voice 5 levels when I'm talking about someone lying. Hopefully my microphone's not too loud. Check. Oh, it goes up into the red a little bit. So I try to speak at a normal voice, at least maybe like 3 inches away from the microphone, because it's one of the decent mics. It's the someone asked me what kind of mic this is. This is the Shure microphone SM7DB. It's what pretty much all the big shot podcasters use, and Michael Jackson was using it, and all sorts of singers, and TV hosts. So it's one of the better mics. I went ahead and invested in this microphone for the channel a number of years ago. So I try to provide quality out here. Definitely don't want it getting up into the red. That might distort a little bit. So I apologize if sometimes it seems like I'm raising my voice, but I'm really not. Just kind of picking me up that way, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, have a good one. We'll see you guys out here for the Sunday night update. Take care, stay safe, and be prepared.